What's going on, Bottom Line View NFL fans? It's Mitch here, back with another week of NFL picks, straight up and versus the spread. This is the video where I give you my pick for every NFL game, every NFL week. Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly NFL picks and best bets. Just like this. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're feeling. And let me know who you're picking for week 15 of the 2023 NFL season. Let's check out how we did last week. Last week, we went 10-5 straight up. We went 8-6-1 versus the spread. And unfortunately, we did go below 500 on our over-under selections at 7-8. Not horrible, but certainly not good. So 10-5 straight up last week. Honestly, that's an accomplishment. At least I think. Considering both Monday Night Football games were upsets, and that's just Monday Night Football. And Thursday Night Football was an upset as well. So, yeah, last week was crazy, especially in the primetime outings. Overall, our record is at 134-74 straight up, which I checked it today is better than anyone on ESPN. Spread record is 114-88 and 6 pushes. And our over-under is 112-93 and 3. So those are our picks this year so far. Hopefully we can keep it up, especially with the straight-up selections. And this is an interesting week. It just feels like each and every week we have more and more backup quarterbacks, which makes picks very hard, obviously, because we have single callers in there who we don't have much evidence of how good they are. Do they suck? Are they great? Like, what do we really know about these players? So it's just the season of the backup quarterback. And when I do my power rankings, which I did yesterday, and if you guys haven't watched that video, I recommend you check it out because I give you my thoughts on each and every team every week in that video, is, man, power rankings are impossible right now. Like, outside of the top 5 or 6 teams, and then outside of the bottom 5 or 6 teams, like, the entire NFL is just a complete mix of average mid squads. So, yeah, I mean, it's a wild season. I think there's a lot of mediocrity in the NFL right now, and I don't think there's a lot of great. So, let's get to our picks before we get to Thursday Night Football, which is another absolute pleasure of a Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Chargers matchup between two backup quarterbacks. Let's say hello to the chat. Gronk, spike the like button, guys. Big Al's in the chat. We got Dina in the chat. What's up, guys? Harley is in the chat. Hold on. There we go. Who else is in the chat? We've got Jordan Hunter, the guitar-loving teen. We've got Ari in the chat. What's up, man? We got Jones, who says, are we going in order Thursday to Saturday first? I always try to go in order. Sometimes I mess it up. But usually I go in order, yeah. Singh says, hello, Big Al. Everyone loves Big Al in the chat. We got King Caesar in the chat. Big Al last week, he says he's got to do better. He went 8-7 straight up, 6-8-1 ATS. This is a bounce back spot for me. Good luck, Big Al. And just like Mike Tomlin, you always back Big Al as an underdog coming back off a loss. Jax Pratt says, you would have been 12-3, but you lost both Monday night games. I know. Thanks. We've got Miss Jennifer in the chat, Tobias in the chat. What's up, man? Thanks for joining. And let's get to our picks. What's the lock of the week? Well, I'll give you my best bets. Later tonight, it will be out. I still haven't recorded them yet because there's been so much line movement this week. It's hard to keep up with. But yes, my best bets will be out later tonight. And I think there's one game I like the most, and you might get an indication of that pretty soon here. So let's start with Thursday Night Football. On Thursday Night Football, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders At home, laying 3. I've seen 2.5 as well. So if you like the Raiders here, bet the 2.5, lay the 2.5. And personally, I like the Raiders in this game. The Los Angeles Chargers are starting their backup quarterback named Easton Stick. No, that is not a meme. No, that is not a joke. No, I'm not making that up. His name is really Easton Stick. And if you know hockey, you know where I'm going with that one. Justin Herbert is out. And the way that I evaluate the Chargers is Justin Herbert is in. This is an average football team thanks to Justin Herbert. If Justin Herbert is out, this is one of the 3 worst teams in the NFL, especially considering who the backup is. So Justin Herbert's out. And then you consider that Keenan Allen is also out. So what have I been saying on this channel over the past, month or 2? This entire offense is Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. Both players are out. So we look at the Chargers and we say, they're playing a good defense in the Raiders. That only allowed 3 points last week to an offense that features TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, did have Justin Jefferson for a moment in time. The Vikings had weapons, and although they did have Joshua Dobby, banging his head against the wall, and then they replaced him with Nick Mullins, they only allowed 3 points. The Raiders defense, I think, is a lot better than people give it credit for. I think it has been all season long. They're very well coached. I think that they tackle really well. They play fundamentally sound. They're really good in the red zone. They're really good on third down. I think that the defense for the Raiders pretty much locks down the Chargers. I think they stop the run. I think that they throw off Easton Stick with some creative coverages and blitzes. And I think the Raiders offense does have the edge in terms of playmakers. At least Aiden O'Connell has started games in the NFL, and he might not be very good, and he might not be much better than Easton Stick, to be honest with you, but he's started games in the NFL. He's used to playing on Sundays, or in this case, a Thursday. And Josh Jacobs or no Josh Jacobs, I think that's a little bit of an overrated loss considering he's a running back that's not a huge dimension in the passing game. I think Zamir White, Amir Abdullah can do a fine job. Josh Jacobs also hasn't been truly elite this year. The offensive line issues for the Raiders in terms of Colton Miller being out, having a couple losses on the offensive line is a little scary. But I'm hoping Devontae Adams can find his way through the illness and get on the field. Jacoby Myers is still there. They've got decent enough tight ends. Hunter Renfrow is there. I think they've got more weapons to work with, a more experienced quarterback. They're at home. I think the Raiders also have the better defense, and they're playing Brandon Staley without Justin Herbert, who will be exposed. So give me the Raiders to win. Give me the Raiders to cover. I think they win like 20-13 or like 17-10, something like that in this matchup. So that's Thursday Night Football. For some reason, I have this fluff on my nose, and it's really bugging me, and I have to scratch it. So I apologize for that. But Gronk, spike the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. That is your Thursday Night Football game. Let's get to the next one. The Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is on Saturday. And guys, just so you know, we have multiple Saturday matchups, which, of course, you will see me live on this channel for. I will probably be live for the Saturday night game for sure, which is the Broncos and the Lions. And I might do this game as well. I'm probably going to do 2 out of the 3. I don't think I'll do all 3, but I'll probably do 2 out of the 3. And then on Sunday, I'll do games. And Thursday, I'm going to probably cover that game, unfortunately, as well. Unless you guys don't want me to. But I've got this game as the Bengals and the Vikings. And this one's tough because I really respect the Vikings defensively. I think Brian Flores has been probably the best assistant coach in the NFL this year. And I don't think that's being talked enough about. Like, I think Brian Flores truly deserves another head coaching opportunity. I thought he was an underrated head coach for the Dolphins. And I think he deserves another chance. I think he's done the most with the least when it comes to defensive personnel in football. You know, you look at and you compare the depth chart of last year's Vikings team to this year's Vikings team. It's not even in the same world. There's a lot of young players playing for the Vikings defense, but they're getting it done. They blitz at the highest rate in football. They do tend to play zone blitzing style, which is more of a Pittsburgh Steeler thing, as he used to play a lot of man, but he's really good at mixing it up and keeping quarterbacks off guard, which leads me to believe that this is the toughest matchup that we've seen young Jake Browning take on as a quarterback. I do think that Jake Browning is going to struggle more than he did against Jacksonville, more than he did last week against Indianapolis. I think those were much easier matchups from a defensive standpoint. That being said, the Bengals have really good playmakers. I like the way that the Bengals have been scheming up offensively in terms of their running game from under center and from the gun. The play action that they've definitely seen an uptick with Browning instead of Burrow in there. And then the screen game, I think, has been super effective, which is something that I think they can have success with against Flores because he likes to blitz so much. And guys like Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Brown even, these guys can make yards after catch and be dangerous on simple slant passes and things like that if the Vikings aren't careful. So I think that I lean the Bengals here to win and to cover because they're at home. They've been very good at home this year. I like how their defense played last week overall against an offense that overall has played better as of late than the Vikings. And I think my biggest worry about the Vikings is the lack of offensive productivity. Despite the Bengals not being very good on defense this year, I don't have much faith in Nick Mullins, right? I've seen Nick Mullins play a few times for San Francisco. And the fact that he couldn't win games with Kyle Shanahan calling his plays, as much as I like Kevin O'Connell, I don't really think it's going to happen for the Vikings. Now, that being said, the other thing you would have to look at is the Vikings, they're not very good at running the ball. I think if they want to win this game, they need to get the run game going against Cincinnati, which is something they've struggled with throughout the season. Cincinnati was better against the Colts defending the run last week. So maybe Cincinnati has found something defensively where they've tweaked a couple things to get better in certain areas, especially up front. But yeah, I like the Bengals here. I just like the way they're playing. I like that they're at home. I like that this game isn't in Minnesota. And it's Nick Mullins. So for all those reasons, I'm going to take Cincinnati to win and to cover. The next matchup on Saturday is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts. Colts are favored by 1.5 points. This is another really tricky game. Two very mediocre teams. Two teams that could make their way to the playoffs, though. That being said, which team is better? I have no friggin' idea. Don't ask me. I think I put the Colts 1 spot or 2 spots ahead of the Steelers in my power rankings. So I guess that gives you the thought. They're also at home. This line, though, would indicate that the Colts would be favored on, I think that the Steelers might be favored if they were obviously in Pittsburgh. If this was a neutral field, it would probably be the Colts by 0.5 point, maybe. So it's very close either way. Gardner Minshew, I like out of the quarterbacks here. I think that Minshew's the better guy out of him and Trubisky. But I thought Trubisky looked a lot worse than he is because he played the Patriots defense last week. And it was a tough place, to get an early start. So I will say that the Patriots defense is tough to play against. The Colts defense is easy to play against. The Colts defense is not very creative. Patriots defense is pretty creative. Patriots defense is really good against the run. The Colts defense is not good against the run. So I do think that the Steelers will be able to run the ball a lot better than they did last week, which is really the one area where they really struggled to kind of get anything going on early downs, which forced the Steelers into a lot of 2nd and 3rd and longs, which is obviously not where you want to be with your backup, let alone Mitchell Trubisky, who is prone to throwing the ball to the other team. So I also still like the Steelers playmakers. I like the tight end. I like the receivers. If they're motivated and they're in the game, which I think there's all the reason to believe in Mike Tomlin here. This is a Mike Tomlin underdog spot. His team's still playoff relevant. This is, Could Mike Tomlin get George Pickens motivated for this game? I think so. I believe in Mike Tomlin in this spot. A lot of people thinking now that he might be fired or he's on the hot seat. That's the type of Mike Tomlin that I want to back. I also do believe that TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith will be playing. I think those guys could give Gardner Minshew a lot of problems. And overall, the Steelers' defense has been a top 10 unit this year, and they've been the unit out of these two defenses that has been turning the ball over and changing games. And in a game where I don't really know which side's better, which quarterback will show up, I'm not really sure which run game will perform better. I tend to think the Steelers match up well with the Colts. And although this game's in Indianapolis and not in Pittsburgh, which I'd much rather it be in Pittsburgh if I want to take the Steelers, I'm going to back Tomlin here with his defense to go into Indy and win this game. Not a big fan of how the Colts are playing defensively, so I'm going to take the Steelers to win. Obviously, I'll take the 1.5 points. This is not a more confident play for me, but that's the way that I go. Tomlin as the underdog. All right. Saturday night. Before we get to Saturday night, just want to get to a couple of comments. Ben is in the chat. He says Flacco is going to get his second Super Bowl MVP this year. Big Al has got the Steelers 24 to the Colts 20. Dina says Colts game is a hard one, but I'm picking the Colts 24-17. They're on the screen there. Singh has got Colts 20-17. Seth says, yo, finally caught a live stream. Thanks for the content, my man. Thank you, Seth, for tuning in. What's up, David? What's up, Jamari? Thanks, guys, for tuning into the show. All right. The next game and the Saturday night main event is the Denver Broncos at the Detroit Lions. Detroit, favored by 4 points. They are at home, back where Jared Goff is comfortable, in the dome. Under the dome, which is what they like. Early in the week, I wanted to jump on Denver and get those points. And I still think this game is going to be really close, but I think I've got to pick Detroit straight up to win this game. They're at home, coming off a disgusting, embarrassing loss on the road at Chicago. We all know, predictably, that Detroit matches up poorly with Chicago. We've seen it twice this year. We also know that Jared Goff is a disaster outdoors. And where is Jared Goff really good? Indoors. There's a lot of things from a matchup standpoint that I like for Detroit to win this game. I like their run game against Denver's run defense, which is the area of weakness for Denver's defense. I like Detroit's run defense against Denver's run offense, which is an area that Denver has been leaning on. And Detroit's run defense overall has been pretty solid this year. It's probably the strength of their defense overall if you were to pick one of those areas. They don't have a good defense at all, but the run defense would be the area, especially against running backs, right? They don't have to deal with Justin Fields with the designed runs. Now, maybe Sean Payton will pull a card from Chicago and run Russell Wilson a lot, which I wouldn't be shocked by. I still expect there to be a lot of points in this game, though. I do think that both teams will get into the mid-20s. I don't have a lot of faith in Detroit's defense. It's probably the worst defense in the NFL right now. But I just think that Detroit's offense is more reliable, especially at home. So this is one of those that I'm going to go both ways. I'm going to pick Detroit to win. I'm going to pick Denver to cover. I think it will probably be something like 27-24, 31-27. Pretty high scoring game. Could go either way. I wouldn't be shocked. But I just don't have enough faith in Detroit defensively for me to say they're going to win and cover right now. And Jared Goff's also been turning the ball over, facing a defense that likes to turn the ball over. So if Denver continues to get that turnover luck, and if Detroit continues to fail on fourth downs the way that they have been, 1 for 5 last week, then maybe Denver can pull off the upset. But if you're looking at it from a matchup standpoint, you do see a Detroit offense that should be able to take advantage at home of some of the deficiencies of Denver's defense. And as long as they protect the ball, they should be able to control the game with their running game, which is exactly where you want to be if you're backing Detroit with Jared Goff working off play action and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, they've had a ton of turnover luck, Jake. And that's something that's hard to count on. It's something that's hard to repeat. But Denver has gotten a lot of turnover luck. So you kind of got to deal with that. So I think Detroit will win. I think Denver will cover. High 20s type of score. Next up, Chicago Bears at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland favored by 3. This game's been tough for me all week. One side of my brain wants me to take Chicago, and the other side of my brain is like, don't fade Joe Flacco and the Browns at home. Because Cleveland's been one of the best home teams in the NFL. And what I mean by that is Cleveland's defense has been really, really good at home. And Cleveland just plays differently when they're at home. And I think you could probably say a similar thing about Chicago. That being said, I've been really impressed with Chicago as of late. I think Chicago's been playing really good football, specifically on defense. And they've been really good up front, stopping the run, which I think is going to give issues to Cleveland. Like Cleveland, what do they want to do, right? Cleveland wants to run the football. And Chicago's been a top 3 run defense in football, especially lately. Chicago's pass rush has improved since Montez Sweat has come to town. That being said, Yannick Ngakoue injured his ankle, and I think he's out long term, so that's a huge loss for the pass rush. Not the run defense, but the pass rush. The secondary of Chicago should also be able to handle Cleveland's passing attack, with Jalen Johnson playing at an elite level right now. Their safeties are playing at a very high level right now. But the matchup that I don't really have a good feel for, I do think Chicago's defense will hold the Browns to a pretty low total overall, which makes me believe, okay, I lean towards taking the points. But at the same time, I'm not really sure how the Justin Fields Cleveland Browns defense matchup's going to go. I do think that Cleveland can win up front. I do think that Cleveland should be able to overall slow down because of their athleticism up front, their ability to stop the run. I think they should give Justin Fields a lot of issues that he hasn't seen in a while because he hasn't played a defense this talented in a while, and he's been beating up on Detroit, and he's been surviving against Minnesota and things like that. But at the same time, I mean, you look at guys like DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney. These guys can make some plays down the field, can make some plays with the ball in their hands and get open against a lot of man coverage, which is what Cleveland likes to play. So I could also see Chicago maybe struggling for large portions of the game, but also hitting explosive plays where it allows them to win this game or make it really close. So it's tough. The other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that Cleveland has a lot of injuries. They have injuries on defense, especially in their secondary, and they have injuries on their offensive line. They've lost 2 right tackles this year. DeJuan Jones got injured last week. They already lost Conklin for the season, and they lost their starting left tackle. So their offensive line is a disaster. I'm going with Cleveland at home because I don't want to fade them at home to win the game. If this were at 3.5, I'd probably take Chicago with the points. But because it's at 3, I'm going to take Cleveland. So I'm going to go Cleveland to win, Cleveland to cover because they're at home. And I don't want to fade that. There's something about them when they play with the dog pound. I just can't get over it. So I'm going to take Cleveland to win, Cleveland to cover. And Joe Flacco, man, I also fear fading Joe Flacco. Some of you might laugh at me. But like Joe Flacco has played better than any Cleveland Browns quarterback has all season. He's still got an arm. He's still making throws. And man, the guy's made plays on 3rd down and 4th down. And he's made a couple big throws down the field that, hey man, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to fade Joe Flacco at home. So I'm going Cleveland here. That's a tough game. I'm not betting it. Next, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the pansy of Patrick Mahomes taking on the New England Patriots at home at Gillette. 10-day rest for New England coming off a huge Thursday night victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. one that no one saw coming where the over hit in the first half. Kansas City coming off a frustrating loss against the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off the worst stretch of football I've maybe ever seen the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid Chiefs play in their tenure. And I will also say that they are only one loss away from going under on their win total for the season, which is something that I would have never expected considering Andy Reid has hit the over every single season as the Chiefs head coach. So this is, I think, going to be like a far more interesting game than people think. And I think it's because the Chiefs offense is not good. Like, period. Point blank, period. I've been saying it for weeks. They can't score 24 points. So you've got an extremely low total. I think it's 37, right? And I think the Patriots, they were getting 10 at one point, 9.5, 9. It's been bet down all the way to 8, 8.5. I'd expect it to settle around 8, 8.5. And I think that's fair. New England has had extra rest and extra time to prepare for this game. Kansas City's angry. Kansas City wants to get back on track, so it makes for an interesting storyline. Also, Bill Belichick, he's had some rumors swirling around him that he's done in New England. Like, is this like a big prove-it game for Belichick, especially from a defensive side of the standpoint there? So I view it as if Isaiah Pacheco's out. I don't think the Chiefs are really going to be able to run the ball here, as New England as of late has been the best team against the run in football. And then you look at the lack of production from the explosive passing game of Kansas City. I think that allows New England to sit on a lot of the underneath routes of Kansas City's offense. So I think Kansas City's going to struggle to move the ball. New England's typically done a good job of corralling Patrick Mahomes and making life difficult on him. On the other side of the ball is where I really don't know, which is really what's going to determine the spread. Kansas City's defense is far better than New England's offense. There's no question about that. But New England's offense played pretty well against a top 10 defense last week on the road. So how will they play here? If they can run the ball, I think they've got a legit chance to keep this pretty close, which I think Kansas City has been worse against the run than the past this year. Ezekiel Elliott expected to get the start. He's played well. New England's offensive line has been running the ball better as of late. So that would be like the avenue. Demario Douglas also comes back to the lineup, which helps them at wide receiver. He's the most talented guy they have without Kendrick Bourne. And their tight ends, especially Hunter Henry, playing pretty well. So that's maybe the area that they attack overall. As long as Zappi doesn't turn it over multiple times, I think that New England will cover the game. If we get into a game where New England is turning it over, I think the Chiefs will cover the spread. But I'm going to go Kansas City, something like 20 to 13, 17-10. Like, I think this game's going to be low scoring, ugly, like not watchable. And it's going to be a lot of Mahomes frustration. But it's just going to be ineptitude from New England's offense. They're not going to be able to take advantage. So I think the Chiefs' defense wins them this game, but that's the way I see it. Take New England with the points, Kansas City to win. Next, New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. Miami is favored by 8.5. This could be potentially scary for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like the Jets. I kind of think the Jets might win this game. I'm not going to lie. I am definitely taking the Jets with the points at 8.5. But here's my issue with Miami right now. Miami obviously coming off a big loss on Monday night. So some of you are probably saying, oh, Mitch, you're just saying that because they lost the Titans. Not exactly. I think what's worrisome about Miami is the injuries. They have so many injuries right now. And the offensive line, the left tackle is out. The right guard is out. I don't know if either Armstead or Hunt are going to play. They didn't play against Tennessee. You saw Tua tripping on his face, tripping over his own feet. And the center, Connor Williams, who is a huge player for Miami, he is out for the season. So that's 3 starting offensive linemen that could miss a game against arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. or at least a top three defensive line in the NFL. I'd probably put the Jets right there with the Niners as the best D line in the NFL. So that's tough. Okay, you've got really good corners in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, who might be the only secondary in football that could cover Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And they're a very fast defense, so it's not really like they're going to be able to get beat by all the horizontal stuff of Miami's running game. It feels like because of the offensive line injuries, the biggest area it actually hurts Miami, their passing game is all rhythm, timing, and precision and quickness, right? It's quick release. It's get the ball out quick. Where it hurts Miami is it hurts their run game on early downs to set up manageable third downs and to get first downs and 2 downs. That's what really hurts Miami, is the run game is really impacted when the offensive line is injured. And if the Jets don't have to worry as much about the run game of the Dolphins, that's where New York can really tee off in their pass rush. So that's where you get worried about Miami's offense. Defensively, Zach Wilson played really freaking well. I know that you guys are going to laugh. Zach Wilson played awesome against the Texans. This game's now on the road. I do think the Jets' offensive line has gotten better since the last time they played Miami. And remember, guys, this was a pretty close game with Tim Boyle until he threw a Hail Mary that got pick-sixed on Black Friday. Remember that game? Yeah, that was this matchup the first time around. I also think that the Dolphins' defense is beat up. Javon Holland, Howard got injured last game. Baker, the linebacker, got injured. Jalen Phillips is out. So there is a chance the Jets' offense actually carries a little bit of momentum into this game. So, because Miami lost on Monday night, I have to say they will win this game. Because when you look at their schedule, they play Dallas, they play Baltimore, they play Buffalo. If they want to win this division, they have to have this game at home. So I think they will find a way to win this game as long as Tyreek Hill suits up. But I really like the Jets with the points. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was a field goal touchdown type of game in the end. So I'm going to take the Dolphins to win because they have to have it. But I'll take the Jets with the points to keep it close. Next, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is favored by 3.5. Early in the week, I thought, Bucs are probably a good look here, getting 3.5. I like how Todd Bowles matches up with Matt LaFleur in their history. Matt LaFleur's offense, even with Aaron Rodgers, has struggled mightily to really score against Tampa Bay and Todd Bowles. But the uncertainty of Tampa Bay's injuries with guys like Vita Vea, who could potentially be back, which would be a huge addition. Obviously, he's one of the best nose tackles in football. It's scary. I don't really know what's going on with Christian Watson. Is he playing? I don't know. Jamel Dean is probably out. So what scares me about taking Tampa with the points here is that the Packers are an explosive passing game. They like to throw the ball down the field. And they like to set you up with the run. And Tampa Bay, they're really, really bad at allowing deep passes and explosive passes to the point where Desmond Ridder can do it, right? So that's disappointing. That's what scares me. I also feel like a lot of people are starting to doubt Green Bay after they lost to the Giants, in kind of somewhat fluky fashion, but not really, right? This is a get-right spot for Green Bay, potentially, at home at Lambeau. I'm going to say if Green Bay has Christian Watson and Aaron Jones, hopefully, but I don't think Aaron Jones will be playing. If they have Christian Watson, I think they'll win and they'll cover. If they don't, I think they'll still win, but I'm going to lean towards Tampa getting 3.5. Because I think he's the one receiver where you're really scared of him just running past the secondary, that is where Tampa is really, really weak. So that's what I'm really worried about. And Jordan Love should have a bit of a bounce back game here. I don't expect the A.J. Dillon run game to really get going much, so it's going to be on Jordan Love to make these plays, which is why every receiver will matter in the lineup or not. Defensively, Green Bay is really hit and miss. Now, what they can hope here is that Tampa can't really run the ball that well, which they're not very good at running the ball, but Tampa's gotten a little bit better running the ball here as of late, and Green Bay's really bad at stopping the run. We do know that. And I do think that if Jair is out, which I'm not sure if he'll be in or out, that's going to be a field day for Mike Evans. I don't think anyone else on their secondary can cover Mike Evans. So Mike Evans should have a nice day here. Baker Mayfield is a little sketchy outdoors in the cold, though. I do worry about that matchup. We've seen it before. I think he played a game in Lambeau with Cleveland, and he was like terrible in that game. So something to keep in the back of your mind. But overall, the pick is going to be Green Bay to win, Tampa with the points if Watson doesn't play. If Watson does play, Green Bay to win and Green Bay to cover. That's the pick. Next, New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints. Saints -6. Give me Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito. Tommy Cutlets. Let's go, baby. Tommy Cutlets. I'm taking him with the points for sure. Now, do I take him straight up? That's the question. That's the question. I will say I really want to. I really want to. Do I have enough testicles to do it? Do I have enough testicular fortitude to actually pick Tommy DeVito, though? Now, this is what I like about the Giants in this game. I like the added element of Tommy DeVito running. I don't know if that was mostly scrambling or if that was in the game plan, but regardless, he has become a factor running a little bit and using his quickness. He is a quick little guy, and he can pick up yards in a hurry when he scrambles. The Saints are really bad against that. Really bad. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. They are very bad at mobile quarterbacks. They are bad at that. On top of it, the defense is injured. The secondary's injured. The front seven's injured. Saquon should have a pretty good day against, the Saints running the ball. And I do think that the Giants offense as a whole is probably the unit that, compared to 3 weeks ago to now, them and Chicago's defense has improved the most. The Giants offense is just being schemed and play called extremely well. The offensive line is playing levels better. And they've found the right rotation of receivers with guys like Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson. These guys are playing well. And I actually think the offense, they figured it out. Brian Daboll figured out the right buttons to push. And I think that is what people are underestimating about this G-Men squad right now. On the other side, why I like the Giants to cover, and this is going to be a best bet, by the way. Don Martindale, Wink Martindale, his ability to send pressure from all angles and make Derek Carr nervous is going to frustrate Derek Carr. It's going to lead to interceptions. It's going to lead to red zone stops, as we already know, because Derek Carr is the worst red zone quarterback of all time. And it's going to lead to receivers being frustrated. And this is the overall point here. The New York Giants are a team that believes. They're a team that's riding momentum. They're a team with inner belief in the locker room, and they're having fun. The New Orleans Saints is a team that they might be more talented than the Giants, but they don't have belief. They don't have any sort of fun. And that's my problem with the Saints. They don't like their quarterback. The Giants like their quarterback. So F it. I'm picking the G-Men to win and the G-Men with 6. Let's go. G-Men. Next. Hey, did I put this one too early? I think I put this one too early. We'll get back to this one. Hold on. What is it? This one? Nope. This one. Okay. Sorry, Big Al. We're going to move this down. All right. That's Monday Night Football. I know that for a fact. Okay. Yeah. All right. Houston Texans at the Titans. We're going to wait on the Eagles and the Seahawks because that's Monday night. So the Texans at the Titans. It doesn't look like CJ Stroud's going to play. I have no idea whether or not he's actually going to play. I'll just make it really simple for you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Loved how the Titans played on Monday night. Shocked me. I mean, the Titans have been terrible against the pass all year, and they really dismantled Tua. They made him nervous. And Tyreek Hill going out of that game really allowed the Titans to play to their strengths. And offensively, Will Levis showed the world on primetime what he can do. Tough son of a gun. Can make big throws. D-Hop still got it. If Stroud's not in, it's clearly Titans to win, Titans to cover, right? This is Derrick Henry against the Texans. Forget about it, right? And then on the other side, you've got the Texans who are beat up at wide receiver, beat up at tight end, beat up and now at quarterback. I think the Titans have the advantage at the line of scrimmage on defense versus the offensive line of the Texans if CJ Stroud's not there. And a big warning sign to me watching the Texans offensively over the last few weeks, not just last week, is a lot of teams are figuring out those deep crossing routes and play action concepts, and they're sitting all over it, and it's having, CJ Stroud really having to make a lot of plays outside of structure, which is not sustainable for any team. But if you don't have Stroud and you have Davis Mills, that's really going to make this offense struggle, which already hasn't been a very good run team. And then, it's simple. But if CJ Stroud is in, I'll take CJ Stroud and the Texans, but I'm going to go with the Titans to win this game if CJ Stroud's out. It's really that simple. Don't overthink it. Next. Don't bet it, though, until Sunday, until you know the news on the quarterback. All right, Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta favored by 3. You must think I'm a jackass if you think I'm going to come on here and take the Carolina Panthers. There's absolutely no chance I'm taking the Carolina Panthers to win a football game. They could have easily, been up in the first half against the New Orleans Saints, but Bryce Young is a bust. Their offense stinks. And the defense, they try, but they're not great. They give up a lot of plays down the field. J.C. Horn being back should help. But the one area that I think Atlanta should be able to win this game for Claire is Bijan Robinson running the football against Carolina's run defense, which still ranks as the worst in EPA in the NFL. If Atlanta can run the ball, they can pace the game. That's what Arthur Smith wants to do. That's how Arthur Smith wants to play. They can protect Desmond Ridder, not allow him to participate in the game. Okay, they can make him a little child and just sit back there and you don't have to throw. So just give it to Bijan, go about your business, win this game. So I'm going to take Atlanta to win, Atlanta to cover. A lot of people think this is a spot where Carolina can upset Atlanta. I mean, maybe they'll win one more game. Is it really going to be this game? Atlanta needs this desperately. Atlanta needs this to win the division. I just don't see it. Next, the Washington Commanders at the LA Rams. I like the Rams to win. I like the Rams to cover. Matthew Stafford played unbelievable against the Ravens, and I don't even really expect the Rams to play that well on offense for the rest of the year. Like, they were really that good against an elite defense on the road, in the rain, in a hostile environment. They lit it up. Cooper Kupp is healthy, though. Puka Nacua is an absolute real monster out there. I mean, the guy is physical. Like, he is one of the most physical receivers in football. He utilizes his size, his body control really well. And they're tough, man. The Rams can run it. They can throw it. I think they're going to be able to do whatever they want against Washington's defense, which is one of the worst in football right now. And it's in LA, a perfect environment in their building. And then you got Washington's offense that, they can score and they can be feisty and stuff, and they're coming off a bye, but they've got to deal with blocking Aaron Donald. And I just don't think that's going to happen too consistently. So I think the Rams win. I think the Rams cover. I think this is an incorrect line. I think the Rams should be favored by more than a touchdown here. This is only -6.5. Makes you feel comfortable. Even if this game, it makes you feel like there could be a chance of the back door, but very slim. Like, if this was 7.5, you'd feel more fear about it. But at 6.5, like, this game could be 31-17 Rams. The Commanders could go down the field and score like a walk-in touchdown because the Rams aren't playing anymore, and it's still 31-24, and you still cover. So I like the Rams here to win. I like the Rams to cover. I really like how they're playing on offense, and their defense is well schemed and has a good enough pass rush to give Washington problems. Next, San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals. Man, this was at 13.5, and I actually considered Arizona as a best bet at 13.5, despite San Francisco being far and away the best team in the NFL. I keep hearing people on NFL talk shows talk about like there's like 4 teams, 6 teams, 8 teams, however many teams that can win the Super Bowl. I don't know what people are watching on Sundays. The Niners are like by far the best team in the NFL. And at this point, if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl, it would be extremely disappointing. Like, they are that much better than the second best team in the NFL. Like, honestly, like, I know that people want to, like, not be liable to be on, like, the cold takes or whatever. But let's be honest here. San Francisco's way better than everybody else. Okay? That being said, if there were ever a spot where the Niners don't play their A game and they get like backdoored or they just don't play well enough to cover a massive spread, it's probably this game, right? You think about it. San Francisco played Philadelphia, highly emotional game in Philadelphia, the scene of the crime of the NFC Championship. They play their best game of the season. The week after that, they play Seattle. Right? Seattle, a division foe. They freaking hate Seattle. Okay? They're going to play hard there. They're at least going to try to win that game. And they do. This week, they play Arizona. Who gives a crap about Arizona? Right? Niners know they're better than Arizona. Nick Bosa knows he's better than the left tackle. Right? Debo knows he's better than the corner. George Kittle knows he's better than the other linebacker. Like, they know, right? It's just human nature. So for me, I'm going to go Niners to win, Cardinals to cover. I rarely ever fade San Francisco, even against the spread. And maybe I'll be wrong here. I loved it a lot more at 13.5. But I'm going to take Arizona to cover. They've been feisty this year. Kyler's a good quarterback. The offensive line for Arizona is really underrated, and I think they'll do a decent job. And the Niners do have a couple injuries, especially like Eric Armstead, like guys they want to rest. So look out for that. But the Niners, the one thing that scares me is their offense is just so good that the Cardinals could have a good game on defense or good game on offense. Like the Cardinals could score like 20, let's say, and the Niners might win this game 37-20. So I could still be wrong about this, but I'm going to go with Niners to win, Cardinals to cover. It's a very big spread late in the year for a game that just doesn't really matter that much for the Niners to go out there and destroy the opponent. Next week, they've got, or I think it's next week, they play Baltimore. So that's a huge game. Next week or the week after. So that's a huge game for them, and it's in a good sandwich spot for the Cardinals to take advantage. Next, the Dallas Cowboys at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo favored by 2. This is the game of the week. Sometimes you look at 2 teams and you say, one team is better than the other. The Dallas Cowboys are better than Buffalo. The Dallas Cowboys are higher ranked in my power rankings. I think the Dallas Cowboys have a better defense than Buffalo. I think the Dallas Cowboys have proven this year overall they have the better record. They have a better point differential. They probably have the better offense. They probably have the better coaching staff. But sometimes one team wants a game more than the other, and sometimes great players just win games. I'm taking Josh Allen and the Bills. They need this game more than Dallas. They're at home. It's going to be cold. Dallas is a much better home team than a road team. I just think gonna do it again, just as I did last week. I'm going to take Josh Allen. He's the best quarterback in the league. It doesn't matter. Dallas is going to play great. It just doesn't matter. Okay? It just doesn't matter. I could tell you that the Dallas Cowboys can cover the Bills and they'll play man coverage, and the Bills didn't play well against that last week. I could tell you that Dallas might not have too many problems with the run game of the Bills, although that's maybe an avenue for the Bills to have success in this game. I think Dallas is slightly overrated against the run. And I could tell you that Dak and the Cowboys offense is due for a down game. That's definitely true. But it just doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I'm taking Josh Allen. That's it. I'm not even going to break down the game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 27-24, Buffalo wins. They need the game. It's a scheduled loss for Dallas. They're going to bounce back next week, and they'll beat Miami. All right, next, the Baltimore Ravens at the Jacksonville Jags. This is a good game. I like Baltimore. I think they're the better team. It's only 3, and I don't think that's correct for the state of Jacksonville. Like, Trevor Lawrence is injured. Christian Kirk is injured. Their O-line stinks. They can't run the ball, which is kind of the area you need to be proficient in if you want to attack Baltimore. Like, Baltimore's run defense is their real issue. If they have one weakness, that is the weakness, right? And Jacksonville can't really run the ball that well. Like, they have, these flashy runs every once in a while from Travis Etienne, but it's not consistent. Defensively, Jacksonville's looked putrid. Like, I think this is another game for Baltimore to carry over for what they did against the Rams. Like, I think they found something in the bye week with the offense, with, OBJ, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, and I think they're just going to continue to roll that over. There's not many quarterbacks playing better than Lamar Jackson in the NFL right now, and I just think Baltimore's the better team. And there's also, something to be said about Baltimore's defense is looking to bounce back after playing probably the worst game I've seen them play all year. And I think that Baltimore can probably look at what Cleveland did and replicate some of that defensive success. Trevor Lawrence threw the ball to the other team 3 times last week. He just looks off to me. That could happen here again, especially the way and the style that Baltimore plays. Again, you never discount the home team in a primetime spot here that needs a win in Jacksonville, but it just feels like they don't have all the pieces and their defense is regressing. And I think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC, and the best team in the AFC wins games like this, and they want that number 1 seed. So I think they get it. I think they win this game. They know they have San Francisco, and they know that's going to be a really tough game. So they're probably going to drop that game on the road. They've got to win this one against Jacksonville. I think they do. And I think they cover. I'm going to say they win 30-23. Monday Night Football. Philadelphia at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle apparently has beaten the Eagles 15 times in a row. Big Al, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw a stat that Seattle has beaten Philadelphia 15 times in a row. 15. So is this another potential Seattle Seahawks win? This is obviously a massive game for Seattle, especially, but also the Eagles, right? The Eagles are on the ropes. The Eagles have faced 2 games in a row where they have not played well at all. The offense, I thought, played better than people gave them credit for against Dallas. They just fumbled the ball 3 times. I think they could have scored more points in that game if they hadn't fumbled the ball, but also that's part of the mental where it feels like Philadelphia is just a little off. Jalen Hurts and this group, A.J. Brown, he allowed Stephon Gilmore to get in his head in that game. Defensively, though, the Eagles are an absolute masterclass of how not to play defense. They can't cover anyone. Their run defense has been a little bit more susceptible as of late. I don't even know if Geno's playing, though. So, that's a huge question mark. I was thinking about taking Seattle plus the 4 within a bet, but I don't know who's playing quarterback yet, so I've got to wait for that information. But what I like in this game for Seattle is I think they're going to be able to move the ball. I think at home, Monday Night Football, I think the crowd and the environment will help their defense, but I think their offense, no matter what, wherever this game was played, I think this is a game for Geno Smith to go out there and have a good game. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, they've got good playmakers. They'll be able to throw the football. So I think that Seattle could keep up with Philadelphia. What I'm worried about here is I think the Eagles offense could win them this game. I think if they can get a lead early, that would really be the position they want to be in, because especially in this matchup, Seattle's offensive line is pretty weak. So if they can get a lead early, they need to run the ball though. The Eagles, I continue to say this, the Eagles have not been running the ball as well, and they have not been running the ball as much. And they need to find a way to get back to running the football. I also worry about Seattle covering all the weapons that Philadelphia has to offer, from Goddard to Smith to A.J. Brown. I want to believe that the Eagles will win this game and bounce back, so I will pick them to win this game. I do think they're the better team. I do think they've been the better team this year. So I'm going to take, and the question mark at quarterback for Seattle is killing me. So I'm going to take the Eagles to win 31-28. I'll take the Seahawks with the points, though. I do think it will be very close, and I do think it will be high scoring. Those are my picks for week number 15. David Andrew says, sorry I'm late, Pats cover until the last 5 minutes. Marcus says, Bills will lose, Jets will lose. David says, I would love to see the Seahawks win, though. Coach says, been to games there. It's crazy in Seattle. He says the Jags may shred the Ravens. I don't know about that. Big Al says Eagles 31, Seahawks 21. Eagles cover. Going all the way up for this one. Shout out to Fat Joe and the Terror Squad. Fly, Eagles, fly. There's the official Big Al Eagles pick. Thank you guys for tuning in. Gronk spike the like button if you haven't already. Make sure to get those Gronk spikes in. That's how more and new people can find this video. Best bets still to come. And Thursday Night Football, I'll be live. Saturday, I'll probably be live a couple times. Sunday, I'll be live for Pats Chiefs and Bills Cowboys. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. It's Mitch. Peace.